Okay, Mr. Hochberg, I also want to ask about some of your relatively new environmental policy. You've made several new policy pronouncements, I believe as a direct result of the President's Climate Action Plan. First of all, what's the statutory basis for all of this new policy at XM Bank regarding carbon and environmental concerns? Because I don't see it.
Well, the environmental requirement that the board must take into account reasonable assurance of repayment, U.S. content for jobs, and the environment are all part of our charter. That's in our charter. As I mentioned earlier, it's been in our charter since 1992.
And what's the exact language of
The language,
environmental?
I've not memorized, but the language, in making a decision to make a loan, we have to look at the environmental impact and balance that against jobs and competitive pressures as well as reasonable assurance of repayment. That is part of the deliberative process that every board decision requires.
And is there any specific grounding, is there any specific statutory basis for all of these recent new requirements and considerations directly related to coal, carbon capture, et cetera?
Well, we have to take, it's obviously an evolving policy, as would be with any federal agency, or frankly, when I was in the business world, any corporation. We continually evolve over time. Since that was put in place in '92, we've obviously
translate
modified.
that as a no in terms of statutory basis, but go ahead.
No,
Is
we have
there
a
anything
statutory basis.
specific?
The basis is we have to be clear to exporters, what do we mean by environmental policy? So we put on our website, what are the environmental concerns that we will look at in making it a determination whether we can provide financing or not.
As I understand it, you will not block coal-related projects for particularly poor countries. Is that correct?
For the 82 poorest countries in the world, we will not block that at all. We will look at, make sure that it's environmentally sound and financially sound. Let me also just add, there are no restrictions on the export of coal, which we have been involved in. There is no restriction on the export of coal mining equipment, drag lines, locomotives, shovels, and so forth. We are still continuing to do that kind of export.
But so coal-related projects would be environmentally sound for those countries, but not for richer countries?
For the very poorest countries, and I think Senator Heitkamp mentioned it, which have problems finding basic power, 24 things we take for granted, 7 days a week, 24-hour power. For the very poorest countries, we have a lower standard, or a more relaxed standard, I should say, than for the richer countries. If Canada's looking to build a power plant, there are different standards that would apply in Canada than would apply in sub-Saharan Africa.
And how do you determine where to draw that line between who gets to benefit from cheaper power and who doesn't?
Well, the omnibus bill said that when it comes to what are called through the World Bank, the IDA and what are called IDA blend countries, or about 82 countries, we are looking at purely our standard environmental policies and procedures, some of which, as I say, go back to 1992.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr.